On February 19th, 2023, there was an anti-war rally held in Washington, D.C. Included were a diverse group of speakers from Ron Paul to Jimmy Dore, Scott Horton, even Tulsi Gabbard and Dennis Kucinich spoke. I expected corporate media to pretend this rally didn't even exist, but to my surprise, Rachel Maddow had a segment on it. This entire segment is a perfect example of why nobody trusts the media. It was surprising even to someone as cynical as myself as to how bad this was. Before I get to that, I want to play some clips from the rally to give you a feel for what was communicated on the stage.
Do you know we could end this war today through diplomacy, but our politicians want to enrich weapons manufacturers so they keep donating to them to the tune of $100 billion. America is so corrupt, even our Peace Prize winners are war criminals. Barack Obama won a Peace Prize and he immediately ramped up the war in Afghanistan, starting bombing Libya, put a hit on Osama bin Laden, dropped 26,000 bombs in Syria. Hey, if you don't like America so much, if you're such a critic, why don't you move to another country? And he said, I would, but then I become a victim of our foreign policy. If Black Panthers can march hand in hand with the KKK down Las Vegas Boulevard to get welfare payments reinstated, we can join hands with the right wing, the libertarians, the left, the socialists, the communists, everybody to stop a nuclear war. And what's happening right here at this rally is what actually scares the hell out of the establishment. Everybody from the left, everybody from the right, everybody from the middle coming together to realize that we have more in common than divides us, and we share a common enemy. That enemy is the military-industrial complex and the oligarchy, the same oligarchy that did a controlled demolition of our economy, and then they want me to hate my neighbor for the pain I'm feeling because of that, because they wouldn't take a vaccine that didn't work the way they said it did in the first place. Well, I'm not going to hate my neighbor. I'm going to love my neighbor.
We've heard a lot of speeches and a lot of opinions, and everybody has joined in. I didn't hear anybody saying we need to expand the war. We're not doing well in Ukraine, but we need to take on the Russians. That'll go better. Oh, no, we need to go to China, and we're still struggling in Syria. No, nobody's for that. At least I haven't heard them. They didn't get a place. I hope they didn't ever get a place on the platform for that. But I think that we can deal with the war issue very simply. And believe me, and I'll explain it more why I believe this, that the answer is end the Fed.
Those people who work in our nation's capital eagerly continue to escalate tensions, eagerly wage new Cold Wars, understanding that if there's a nuclear attack, yes, they will be okay in their bunkers where they literally have plans to be able to continue to wage wars from their bunkers without any consideration for the rest of us and the destruction and incineration that their wars will cause. Now, for those of you who remember that election, this issue was not important to the media. They refused to talk about it. They refused to raise the question in debates. There was no other candidate willing to talk about this issue. It was not important to them then, and it's not important to them now. And so here we are, 2 short years later. What I warned about then is now our reality. This proxy war that we're fighting against Russia right now could turn at any moment into a direct conflict between the United States, NATO, and Russia, a country that has more nuclear weapons than any other in the world.
The Russia-Ukraine war is a catastrophe. There's a very real risk that the war could grow out of control into a major power conflict between NATO and Russia. A war which could kill billions of people. We demand a ceasefire and negotiations now. This war was not inevitable. Vladimir Putin and his men obviously have their share in the responsibility here.
And there was a random, and I mean truly random, rally on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. A rally in support of Russia, I guess.
I'm a journalist, and I'm here to speculate and give you the least charitable interpretation of what happened. In fact, I'm not even going to tell you. I'm going to ask you stupid questions and pretend to be a dumb, naive, innocent journalist who saw this footage for the first time and who gets easily distracted by a couple of kooks waving Russia flags instead of telling you what I'm really doing, which is acting as a mouthpiece for the military-industrial complex and cheering on an escalating conflict between two of the world's largest nuclear powers. I hope you didn't tune into this show to learn anything. I don't care who dies in this war, because I make $3 million a month being a shill for the most powerful government in human history.
Given all the Russian flags, at least a rally against the U.S. supporting Ukraine in trying to stand up against the Russian invasion of their country. This was a tiny event. It was small. It was a weird assemblage of Americans. There were Proud Boys there. There were some of the white supremacist groups you'd recognize from the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville a few years ago. Also represented prominently the remains of the bizarre Lyndon LaRouche cult. There were a lot of people with Russian flags, also the occasional flag of the former Soviet Union. Also, at least one person who guest hosts for Tucker Carlson on the Fox News Channel was there as a featured speaker.
Her name is Tulsi Gabbard, which Rachel knows full well because she was a guest on her show before you weren't allowed to mention Tulsi's name because she opposes war. She's also a former congresswoman from Hawaii, an Army Reserve officer who has seen combat experience, and a former presidential candidate. But sure, she's just a guest host for Tucker Carlson on Fox News.
There were anti-vaccine conspiracy theorists, a lot of them. There were cryptocurrency promoters. It was a really weird group.
I'm going to describe an anti-war rally by singling out a few of those in attendance. And by the way, anti-vaccine conspiracy theorists just means people who knew the truth about the pandemic 2 years before everyone else. And heaven forbid, cryptocurrency promoters, the horrors.
It was a small rally and a weird one. But that's what it looks like. That's the assemblage of short straws and split ends and loose change and loose electrons that's advocating in this country that Russia's in the right in this war and America should be on Putin's side as he keeps invading other countries.
This is the most dishonest and manipulative thing she said. She asserts this because a couple of morons were running around with Russian flags in the crowd.
I mean, no disrespect to the Americans who turned out as part of this small event this weekend.
I just spent the last couple of minutes disparaging everyone in attendance. Sure, I just called them short straws, split ends, loose change, and loose electrons, and called the rally weird, but I don't mean any disrespect.
But it's not like they represent a big constituency that is arguing for this pro-Russia point of view.
Whatever contempt you may have for corporate media, it is not enough. Nearly everyone here and every speaker is against war. War is the greatest evil in this world. What's worse than people being killed at the direction of maniacal rulers?
A rally in support of Russia, I guess.